So here we have a balloon in a vacuum chamber by this guy right there. Now, when he activates the vacuum chamber or begins removing the air from this chamber and achieves a vacuum, the balloon is going to expand. Now we can see right now that this is one contained environment inside another contained environment. The vacuum chamber and the balloon, two different environments. Okay, there's no reason why the air or whatever's in that balloon should know what's going on outside in the vacuum, because they are separated by the vinyl or material that this balloon is made of. So I will ask you, anyone looking, why would the balloon expand inside a vacuum? People will say a vacuum is nothing. So if a vacuum is nothing, how can nothing do something to this balloon? Why would the balloon be expanding? How could what's inside that balloon know or have any action or reaction to what's going on outside the balloon? Now it is apparent that a vacuum is something, and that the vacuum is going to pull on that balloon from every direction per every square inch of the perimeter of that balloon. Let's see what happens. Now he's removing the air, making a vacuum, and watch what the balloon does. The balloon is expanding. Why is that? If a vacuum is nothing, how can nothing do something? Or how can you get a reaction from nothing? Nothing can't do anything. It can't cause anything. So here we have the balloon expanding inside the vacuum. Why is that? Or could it be suction? That balloon is now turned into a square balloon, the same shape as the container, or the shape of the vacuum chamber. Now, why did it expand? Something was pulling on it from every direction, from here, there, and from all sides of that balloon, something was pulling on it. That's suction. Okay, that's why that balloon expanded, due to suction in a vacuum. Now, you can make up your little stories or regurgitate what they tell you, but like I said, whatever's in that balloon, probably air, how is it having any contact with the vacuum when it's separated by the material of the balloon? And how can nothing, a vacuum, produce a reaction? If a vacuum's nothing, how can it cause the balloon to do anything? And if nothing is in the vacuum, why would the balloon produce an action? Do you see what I'm saying? Now we're going to see what this is. I'm going to show you right now what this is. I'm going to show you what water or liquid does in a vacuum. So this guy, what's his name? There's his name. He's got water in a vacuum chamber, right? So the vacuum, according to scientism or science, is nothing, or the absence of air. They call it nothing. So why is this liquid, this water, going to boil? Let's take a look, or appear to bubble. Why would it do that if there's nothing there? Do you see that? Do you see that? That water bubbles in a vacuum. And I'm going to ask you in a logical manner, if a vacuum is nothing, why would that water have any reaction? If there's nothing in the vacuum, why would the water start bubbling or boiling? That's because there is something in a vacuum. It's called suction. And I'll show you that Google admits it. But they don't expect you to equate it with a vacuum. Oh, one moment, please. Now here again we got this on Google. Suction, the production of a vacuum by the removal of air in order to force fluid or any medium into a vacant space or procure adhesion. Do you understand what that means? Suction, the production of a vacuum by the removal of air in order to force fluid or any medium or matter, such as the balloon, into a vacant space. So what that balloon was doing was filling the vacant space per suction. That's why the balloon expanded. The balloon expanded because they achieved a vacuum by removing the air to force fluid or a balloon or matter or a medium into a vacant space. So that's why the balloon took the shape of the vacuum and filled the vacuum. Do you understand that? It's due to suction by the production of a vacuum, by the removal of air, in order to force fluid, matter, the balloon, or a medium, air, into a vacant space, or procure adhesion. Okay, they do not expect you to equate the suction defined here on Google with a vacuum. They don't want you to equate that because they want you to believe that the Earth in its entirety is surrounded by an infinite and expanding vacuum universe billions of light years across. Okay, now you got these people who will show you a rail tank and they'll say that outside pressure is crushing it. That is ridiculous. See, now these people seem to have some more honesty, demonstrating the power of a vacuum. And the title is Vacuum Implosion, which is what I maintain. One moment, please. Now they're turning that rail tank into a vacuum by sucking all the air out of it. Watch what happens. It implodes, and I'll tell you why. Boom. Now, the liars of scientism will tell you that outside pressure crushed that vacuum. Not here or there, but in the middle, that outside pressure crushed that vacuum that was inside this rail tank. That is a vicious lie. What is the truth is it imploded. Okay, they created a vacuum inside that rail tank, and the vacuum imploded it by suction. The vacuum inside pulled that thing together, like when you suck on an empty soda plastic bottle, you suck the air out, the walls of that soda bottle implode, and not because of outside pressure, but because you're sucking the air out. So that's what's going on here. Do you understand that? That the vacuum inside, this is what happens inside. It implodes. You could put anything you want outside. You could tape empty aluminum cans to the outside of this tank everywhere. Not one of them would be crushed. Only the vacuum tank, because no outside pressure is moving in from anywhere to crush that rail tank. Okay, and when I posed that to a professor, he made up things like dynamic pressure, which are entirely made up. I said, why won't aluminum cans be crushed if you tape them to the outside of this tank? And they won't, and he acknowledged that, but he made up some type of pressure that we cannot demonstrate or experience. Totally made up. So this is what happens. That's how powerful a vacuum is. The suction inside of that vacuum caused that rail tank to implode. The vacuum pulled on all the inside of that tank and pulled it together. That's why they say implosion. And in the beginning, they say the power of a vacuum, not the power of outside pressure. Let's take a look. Demonstrating the power of a vacuum. And I will leave the link for this video in the description or in the comments. But if the reason for this video is to prove to you people that the gas and oxygen they call atmospheres could not maintain the fixed state around the Earth. If it were anywhere near an infinite vacuum universe, we'd be dead. All the gas and oxygen would fill outer space. Can't you people understand that? If outer space were an infinite vacuum universe expanding billions of light years across, we'd be gone. Boyle's gas law, Avogadro's gas law, second law of thermodynamics, entropy.